standard Google time. So the kind of joke was that I was going to lock the doors of my wedding for people who showed up late. We won't do that here. All right, so should we get going? All right, well, first of all, wow. Thank you, everybody. This is an amazing turnout for the first International Cancer Rehabilitation Summit. I want to thank all of you for coming. We have nearly, our capacity for the room, as I understand it, was 150, and we're at 145, not counting the staff and the vendors who have graciously come out to help us. So thank you very much for that. And it is truly international. We have Sao Paulo, Brazil, we have Canada, and we have Puerto Rico represented, and that is a fabulous start for the first meeting. Of the 145 people, I put it on my iPhone to see if I could remember it. We have 61 physicians, maybe a little more, or 61 physical therapists, 32 physicians, 23 OTs, 5 SLPs, 5 nurses, and 17 other, including administrators, psychiatrists, psychologists, and I'm sorry if I missed you. So that is exactly what I wanted. I really am very delighted. We have a wonderful meeting set up for you today. But before I forget, I just need to do the housekeeping. So to be eligible to receive continuing education contact hours, you're required to do the following. Number 1, sign in each day. I think that's just a little initial on the paper outside. Therapy and nursing participants are required to sign in and out each day. I guess so we can keep track how many left, I don't know. And number 2, complete and submit daily and general evaluations. Please complete the conference evaluations and drop them into the designated box near the door. I see a large box over there that you can use. Instructions for access to the internet can be found in your registration packet. Summit speaker presentations, access to the conference PowerPoints will be available on Sunday, November 11 at 1 o'clock. The link and passcode to the access and PowerPoints will be emailed to everybody. Restrooms are out there to the left, and the business center. If you exit this room to the left, the business center is at the end of the hall to the left. So if you're just dying to print out that patient report and sign it and fax it back, I guess you can take care of that here. So if I didn't already say, I'm Dr. Michael Stubblefield. I'm the medical director for cancer rehabilitation at the Kessler Institute for Rehabilitation. I'm the national medical director for cancer rehabilitation for Select Medical, which is a large company whose product is function and quality of life. That's all we do is try to help people. So we have something like 1,600 outpatient therapy sites, 20 plus rehabilitation hospitals, 100 plus long-term acute care hospitals, and a smattering of other things. It's just a fabulous company. So your sponsor tonight is Select Medical, but also the American Cancer Society. Catherine Alfano sitting here in front is a very good friend of mine, and I could not be more ecstatic that we were able to get this collaboration together and really start trying to raise the bar on all components of cancer rehabilitation. I would like to say that I did a lot for this meeting, but the truth is all I did was sign up speakers. After that happens, and I kind of set the agenda, we have this amazing educational staff at Select Medical that really did the rest. I just want to call some of them out. Lauren Bocaturo down here, who incidentally is the person who got me kind of to Select Medical. Of course, my boss is sitting next to her. Terry Carolyn, who's over here running all things AV and just keeping this thing really in order, is kind of our go-to problem. So if you have problems, go to him, not me. Myrna Perez, who's probably outside now. I just go Tosh McLeod, Lindsay Scott, Nellie Below, and Allison Ritter. I also want to thank Impediment, who has this wonderful LDEX machine. I encourage you all to learn more about it. We are including it in several of our centers now and already have it at some of our centers, so it's a good device. So, before I introduce our first speaker, I just want to tell you a little bit about the concept of this summit and why you're here, why I think you're here, and why I hope you'll be at summits going forward. The idea of this, and this year's theme, as you may have guessed from the sort of literature we sent out, was really breast cancer. Why breast cancer? Well, because everybody who treats cancer patients treats patients with breast cancer. So I wanted to start with one disease state and really talk about survivorship issues, Then nuts and bolts of how we identify, treat these patients, really the oncology. I feel very strongly that understanding the disease itself is instrumental to being good at rehabilitating these patients. And then we're going to go into some specific rehabilitation issues tomorrow. And then we're going to spend some time on sort of late stage breast cancer, end of life issues. And then we're going to have some workshops, which I hope you are all able to sign up for. I think it's kind of a nice, concise way to do a summit like this, as opposed to we do a little thing on trismus, and head and neck cancer, and we're kind of scattered and there's no theme. So we're hoping to do this again next year and every year going forward. Next year I'll probably do head and neck cancer. Why? Because we can do even more, right, with head and neck cancer, and then I may go into gynonc and other things. So we're very excited about the format, and when you do the feedback, please give us feedback on that, all right, and what you think you might like, what's important to you. Fair enough? All right, so you're gonna get to hear it from me a lot, so I'm gonna get off the stage as soon as I can read this very long bio on David Chernow, who's standing there in the back shaking his head, but I got to tell you about this guy, he's amazing. So David Chernow, JD, so not MD, but JD, we won't hold that against him. He served as President and Chief Executive Officer at Select Medical since January 2014. He served as the company's President since December 2010. He held additional titles of Chief Administrative Officer from March 2012 to August 2013. Chief Development and Strategy Officer from January 2011 to March 2012, and Chief Strategy Officer from September 2010 to December 2010. From May 2007 to February 2010, Mr. Chernow served as the President and Chief Executive Officer of Encore Medical Corp., a national network of cancer treatment centers. From 2001 to 2007, he was President and Chief Executive Officer of JA World, formerly known as Junior Achievement. From 1999 to 2001, he was the president of the Physician Service Group at US Oncology, Inc. Mr. Chernow co-founded American Oncology Resources in 1992 and served as its Chief Development Officer until the time of the merger with Physician Reliant Network, Inc., which created US Oncology in 1999. That is a lot of very important work in and around healthcare. But really, my thanks to David is because him, Bruce, and Lauren, who started this initial conversation, is exactly the man who has made cancer rehabilitation at Select Medical possible for very personal reasons, which he may or may not discuss with you. And he really, I think, will get credit for this enterprise we're undertaking to really bring cancer rehabilitation nationally and potentially globally. Right, he will be the one who I think gets credit for that unbelievable initiative. So I'm going to get off the stage now and let David take over.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Can everybody hear me okay? All that meant when he was going over all of that for you was that I can't keep a job. All of those things. So, hey, it's great to be here with everyone, and I always like to know who's inside the house and who's part of the family here. So, just curiosity, if you would, show of hands. How many of you are clinicians, if you will? So it looks like almost every single one of you is, which is spectacular. So thank you again for being here. It's a wonderful thing when we talk about something, sort of it germinates. You put a seed down and you say, wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if we were able to bring people together who were passionate and inspired around oncology and cancer rehab, and bring them together and get their thoughts and learn how to learn from them, share, network, and basically elevate a very important subject and topic and service that's, I think, elevating itself in this country and hopefully around the world. I want to give you a little bit of background, and I don't mind sharing it all. Now, the sort of the joke is that they want me to talk for 10 minutes. And that just reminds me, I love potato chips, but I'd never eat just one potato chip. It would take me so much longer. So this is going to be difficult, but I'll try and bring everything together within a very short time frame. I love this slide. Can you imagine that? Hey, how are you? Good to see you. It's going to be 20 million cancer survivors by the year 2016. In 1996, I was a member of the National Coalition of Cancer Survivors. I was on the board when I was with, I started a healthcare company. I'll give you a little bit of background on that. But all this means is that now we're in a particular situation that I think requires us to step up. And that's really why we're here. The other thing I would just offer to everyone in this room who I'm sure understands this very, very much is if I ask the question, and I know I'm going to have everybody in this room hold their hand up, either directly or indirectly, how many of you here have been touched by cancer, directly or indirectly, by yourself? So again, probably 100%, which in my mind makes it very relevant for all of us. And for me in particular, I'll give you the quick story, but it's more than relevant. We always like to talk in our company, Michael gave the analysis of our company, but real quickly, we have about 45,000 employees. We do have about 1,600 outpatient clinics providing therapy of all kinds, OT, PT, speech. We have 20 and growing rehab hospitals and 103 long-term acute care hospitals which treat cancer patients as well. So we're touching cancer patients every day. But the truth is there hasn't been a real specialization, and I think the relevance now is that these 20 million cancer survivors by 2026 are going to need our ongoing care. A couple of statistics. Less than 5% of all the patients who leave a hospital with a cancer diagnosis, less than 5 are referred to physical, OT or speech. Less than 5%. It's amazing to me to think about that. Secondarily, about 65 to 90% of all those patients who have some cancer diagnosis require ongoing physical therapy. They require it. And yet, less than 5% actually go. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but as many of you know in the cancer world, it's now recognized that cancer rehabilitation is part of the treatment pattern and is recognized. And so there's this incredible opportunity to embrace and focus on treating patients who need our care, right? All of you in this room, I'm sure, provide that kind of care or are interested in providing that care. And that's what this is really about, is how do we do that? How do we elevate this opportunity? And by the way, I would tell you that it's not just the opportunity to impact people's lives and their families' lives, but it's the responsibility now, I think, that we all have in being able to do something great and have an enormous impact. So let me tell my story real quick. How do I start? So grew up in a great family, very healthy, played sports. I was a collegiate tennis player. Come home one day and I had gone water skiing and I feel like I have a pulled groin. And I won't get too graphic, but turns out I get diagnosed. I joke around, I had what Lance Armstrong had, except it didn't go to my brain, it just went to my lungs. And I joke around and I tell people I would have written his book, that I don't ride a bike, but it's not about the bike, it's what his book was called. But went through a lot of misery. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. This was 35 years ago. So do the math. But I'm 59 now, so I was 24 years old, very healthy kid. Thought I ate right, didn't do anything wrong, all-American sort of kid. But everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And I was at UCLA Medical Center. I tell the story. We're partners with UCLA, and I think Dr. Gans is here. Patricia, is she here? Yeah. Yes. She's going to be here. Does amazing work. But 35 years ago, I went through a terrible ordeal. So I had surgeries. I had chemotherapy. Was in the hospital 2 months. So, but the only relevance to that is that, by the will of God, and thank God that I had one of the treatable diseases, which was, there was a chemotherapy elixir at that time, which is cisplatin, Velban, and bleomycin. That was the regimen. And unfortunately for me, it was something that you could literally save a person's life. 5-10 years before then, you couldn't. But the reason I'm telling this story is not so much about that, but there was no such thing as cancer rehab. When people were left the hospital, you just felt like you should just be appreciative that you made it through. And again, I was very, very fortunate because although I'm going to talk about some of these things in a moment, all these side effects. So I lost the feeling in my fingers. I had the surgery, so I had some different type of swelling. It just was I had the fatigue. I had all the depression. And ironically, I'd never taken a drug in my life, and they put me on Dilaudid and Demerol. For some of you, deal with that, and I got hooked. I literally got hooked on drugs, on opiates. And so I had to get off that. But the truth is that rehab was not even considered. Not even considered. And now, and one of the interesting parts is that my history is I thought there was a better cancer care model. 10 years later, I worked with my oncologist to develop one of the first outpatient cancer centers, family-focused, community-based, physician-directed, and clinically directed outside a hospital. That's not a negative statement about a hospital. It's just I was in the bowels of a teaching institution, which was a lot less, if you will, patient-centric and customer-oriented. And that's not their fault. It's just the way of the world. As many of us know, the outpatient setting is where everything is going anyway. So we started developing this whole network. Now, the beauty is that, I was telling Dr. Stubblefield, I worked and helped develop a network of cancer centers and working with 1,000 physicians around the country. Beautiful, spectacular, not only physicians, but nurses. But we really weren't doing anything with therapists, which was amazing to me. Nothing with therapists. And so while I was on the National Cancer Survivorship Board, and I was talking about survivorship, we really weren't doing anything. It didn't resonate back then. But now, it's probably one of the most important things that we could be doing in an era where it's value-based purchasing versus fee-for-service, where wellness and prevention are the keys. We have the ability collectively, as not only Select as a company, but the industry at large, to impact close to 20 million people and growing in this country. And by the way, when we say 20 million in this country, obviously this is an international movement. I heard there's people from other countries coming here, but cancer, unfortunately, goes everywhere, and it's being treated everywhere. And so our opportunity to come together, to share, to learn, is really what this is all about. So, one of the things I try and promote in our company is to have empathy, because if you walk in the shoes of others, you really understand. As a cancer patient and a survivor, there is this journey. I'm the lucky one. There's a lot of people who weren't as lucky as me in terms of dealing with a lot of the problems they had. But the recovery and the healing is what this is all about, and we need to really support and educate each other and understand and treat others as they would want to be treated. And literally, these are people who don't know where to go and don't know what to do. The interesting thing is that if you look at all these things, treatment designed to optimize survival, health, and well-being, improving function, relieving pain, decreasing fatigue, except for I was fortunate enough to not have any speech or swallowing issues, but every single one of those things I could have benefited 35 years ago. Probably people would say, you need to improve on your speech as well. But anyway, this is a time, a place and time for all of us to really come together. And while Select has sort of taken a role as a catalyst or a convener or someone who really wants to prompt the discussion, we have a unique opportunity in our own organization, because we have over 7,000 clinicians, and that's not counting nurses. I'm talking PT, OT, and speech, 7,000. We also have that amount of nurses in our organization to really make an impact. And with Dr. Stubblefield's leadership and Dr. Gann's, we want to elevate it. And there's so many people out there, like you in this room, who are so passionate and want to become, if you will, students, and want to become educated and want to be specialists in the provision of cancer rehab, what that means today and what it will mean in the future. So, again, while each one of us, and I'm not that special, I'm just one of those very fortunate guys who got through it and had the good disease, I guess. And everybody's own experience is quite different, and they can tell the great story. We do share one common goal, right? And that common goal is that we want to live well beyond cancer. Now, I will tell you, I was noticing Nicole in the back. Hi, Nicole. And she had her therapy done, which, by the way, I think my wife happens to, and I'm one of those lucky guys, wasn't supposed to have kids, so I'm a really blessed guy. I had, not only did I have kids, I had boy-girl twins, so very efficient family. One fell swoop, done. But my wife actually, she's a volunteer, but she's the head of the volunteer program training dogs to go into cancer wards. And that kind of therapy is incredible therapy. I mean, we talk about therapy, but it is incredible. So good for you, Nicole. So what's the purpose of this meeting? It's to really network. It's really to learn from each other. It's really to open up. I mean, there's probably incredible stories that all of you have, and to share certain things. And I will tell you that by us coming together, we truly, truly raise the bar to really make a difference for everybody. For those cancer patients today and in the past who never had the opportunity to really benefit from what cancer rehab can really mean. Again, the 20 million cancer survivors, that's an incredible number. Think about the impact that we're going to have on the lives of that individual and their family and their friends by doing the kind of therapy that we're talking about, that Dr. Stubblefield will talk to you about, and all of you in this room will learn about in the next 2 days. Revital, real quick story. We had done, is anybody from California here? Okay. So many of you may know there's recently, we built a hospital. I'm going to end on this. I went to UCLA. It was my alma mater. I got, ironically, and it was my destiny, is I got treated at UCLA, and it was just an absolutely terrible experience. And now they're a fantastic institution with great patient experience, quality metrics. I got chemotherapy at Cedars-Sinai. So when I met with the CEOs of both institutions, they hate each other, by the way. They're not the CEOs, but the institutions really don't like each other. I say that in a competitive way. And I told them, I was in the room and I said, you know this is my destiny. And they're looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I said, I know you've never done anything together, but you have to come together. You must come together for the benefit of the community, because there's no real rehab. I mean, there is rehab, but there's no institutional, regional center of excellence, large scale, that can treat the kind of patient, spinal cord, traumatic brain stroke. And I said, it is my destiny. And I said, you know, because I got treated in cancer care, we must all come together. So we need to name and come up with a name for the hospital. Because one wanted to be called UCLA, the other wanted to be called Cedars. We don't even care. And nobody could come up with an answer. So we went outside. And I think it's sort of funny, actually, so indulge me for a moment. So we take an outside consultant who does the marketing and gets all these different names and brings the people together, and they come up with the one name. And we sit in a meeting, we go, we really like it, we really like it, and then one of them said, no, I don't really like it. So we didn't get consensus, and the name was Revital. And we said, you know what? That's even better for cancer rehabilitation. So we're going to take that name. It's okay that the hospital is called now CRI, California Rehab Institute. But Revital became the idea of, isn't it the right thing is to revitalize people who've gone through treatment, right? Enjoy the next 2 days. Thank you very much, and thanks for participating.